Justin Frenette here, co-founder and CEO of Him and Her and host of the Pre-Con Recon Podcast, where we talk about all things brand and marketing in the pre-construction real estate market. I invite leaders to share their knowledge and strategies for success, empowering our community to thrive now and in the future. This episode is brought to you by Him and Her, a creative agency specializing in exceptional branding for real estate and high-end consumer goods. Over the past 8 years, we've helped shape and sell over $2.5 billion in pre-construction real estate projects, crafting and executing strategies that deliver extraordinary results. From successful multi-year master plan mixed-use communities, both low and high-rise, to transforming underperforming locations into sought-after destinations, to selling out a residential tower in just 23 minutes, we empower our partners to achieve success in any market condition. If you're launching a pre-construction project and want to learn more, reach out to us at himandher.ca. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jordan McDonald, founder and CEO at Fabric Living, who put me in touch with our amazing guest today, Theresa Dillon. Theresa is the marketing director at Fabric Living, a Vancouver-based real estate development company known for creating cool urban communities in amenity-rich, walkable neighborhoods with deep local culture and a little East Side grit. Since joining Fabric in 2020, Theresa has led both corporate and project-level marketing initiatives, helping to shape and communicate the company's vision of building not boring communities, designed to give people the freedom to live life on their own terms. Before joining Fabric, Theresa spent 8 years at a boutique real estate marketing firm, where she successfully crafted and executed marketing, sales, and leasing strategies for a wide range of developments, from residential townhomes and purpose-built rentals to mixed-use condo projects and master plan communities. Theresa brings a fresh mix of vision, creativity, and real-world insight to her work, crafting brands and communities that are authentic, energized, and impossible to ignore. Theresa, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Before we dive in, I always start by asking my guests what it is they love about what they do.
I love so much about what I do. First and foremost, like Fabric, we have a very strong culture in our office. Our team is like a family, and I know that's cliche to say, but I think it's what really drives people to work hard and come into the office every day and bring that energy and fresh ideas, which definitely help from a marketing perspective. And then real estate, you're providing space for people to live their life, like space where they'll bring home their new baby or adopt their first dog or take their first job. So real estate is just so critical to people and their everyday and in their lifestyle. And it's exciting to be able to be a part of that.
I love it. It's the same passion we have. A property goes up, it's probably going to be there longer than we'll be around if things are done proper. And one of the most important decisions somebody's going to make in their life.
For sure.
So how did you begin your career in real estate? Was it intentional? Did you always know? Was it by chance? Did you fall into it?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a happy accident. Growing up, I always loved marketing. I was like constantly working on marketing designs and ads. I think I even still have like a fake ad that I made for Cow's ice cream when I was 10, and it's atrocious, but the passion was there. And then on the flip side, like with interior design, I always found that super interesting. And when we had free time on the weekend as a family, we'd go check out the open houses in the neighborhood. And I loved the different furniture and the layouts and the design. So that's something that I always was interested in. And then when I went into school, I studied business and marketing. And approaching graduation, I remember chatting with a friend and just expressing that I liked real estate a lot and that I thought real estate marketing might be a good fit for me, just a very natural fit being a mashup of marketing and design. And sure enough, she knew someone, a small Vancouver firm that was looking to bring on a marketing position. And that's how it all started.
Amazing. And so I assume, is that the boutique firm you were at for 8 years?
Yeah.
So what was some pivotal experiences while you were there?
Yeah. So I got to work on a lot of different types of projects when I was there. I worked on everything from stacked townhome to residential townhome, mixed use condo, commercial, even some master planned communities and purpose-built rentals. So I really got to like check it all out and test it all. And during my time there, I was able to grow a lot in my role and take on more and more ownership each project, which was a great learning experience. And then also, I was able to work with a lot of different developers. So developers that had different marketing priorities, different marketing budgets, different perspectives. And I think that was very interesting for me to see and kind of get a sense of what works, what doesn't work. Like some people really leaned into marketing and like believed in the marketing dollar. And then other people, we had to really battle to try and get the slimmest marketing budget to promote the project. So all in all, it was really interesting to see how every different business worked. And then when I got connected with Jordan, who's, as you mentioned, the CEO of Fabric, it was just so refreshing to hear his like vision for what he wanted Fabric to be. And Jordan himself has like so many creative, unique ideas, and he's always open to us kind of pushing the boundary and trying new things, which as like a marketing professional is just music to my ears, like you're not
Yeah.
confined to a little box. You can play outside the lines a little bit. So yeah, when Jordan kind of came about launching Fabric in 2020, I was very excited to be a part of that.
That's amazing. It's definitely a factor on reaching out to have you on the podcast because the fabric living approach does stand out from your typical
Awesome.
cookie cutter developer.
Yeah.
Now, you were also recently recognized in Spark Real Estate's International Women's Day series.
Mm-hmm.
How have you mentored emerging professionals, having been in it for a while now? And what advice would you offer someone new, or in particular, women aspiring to leadership roles in real estate marketing?
Yeah, in terms of advice, I'd say like don't be afraid to ask questions and to take up some space, especially coming out of school. I think people are like nervous to ask questions in a meeting because it shows just how little they might know. And the reality is like everyone knows how green you are, so you might as well ask the questions and get the knowledge. And smartest person in the room is the one that's continually asking questions and kind of staying curious. So I would say like don't be afraid to do that. That's something you should do continually throughout your career. And then in terms of mentoring, it's something I haven't done a ton of, but I'm definitely open to it and would like to do more. Whenever I get a message on LinkedIn, someone looking to chat or grab a coffee, I always try and make time for that because it doesn't feel like that long ago that I was in their shoes, and whatever insights I can pass on, I'm happy to. I also think it's very interesting with AI and the way technology and social media is going. Like we can learn a lot from the younger people coming into the industry as well. So it's really a win-win.
I love it. Now, you personally, did you have any mentors along your journey?
I didn't have like that one mentor that's been there through day one to now, but I've definitely had different mentors throughout different parts of my life, career and personal, and I think they've all played a very important role and kind of helped shape me to who I am today.
Was there one mentor or one piece of advice that stuck out that really helped you in a tough spot, or you've seen the fruit of that recommendation from them?
Yeah, I think the one piece of advice that, and to this day, I still try and like remind myself of is just to embrace the uncomfortable. No one likes being pushed outside of their comfort zone. But in reality, that's where we grow the most, and that's where the opportunities come. And I don't think you ever really regret it if you step outside your comfort zone. So just go for it.
I love it. Well, let's talk about projects then.
Yeah.
Fabric Living, you gave us a little bit of an insight. Can you expand more on who they are, what it is they do, what do they build?
Yeah, for sure. So Fabric Living, we're a multifamily real estate development company. We focus on creating not boring communities that allow people the freedom to live life on their own terms. So our projects are located in neighborhoods that are walkable and amenity rich and have like a deep local culture and a little bit of grit still. And then we also lean into hospitality inspired design. And our projects are kind of geared so that they really promote well-being.
Okay. So the not boring ethos, that philosophy seems like a guiding principle. I think it's great because so
Mhm.
much of real estate is boring for the cookie cutter guys out there. What influenced that direction, and how is that direction actually affecting your brands or your marketing or your products that you're designing today?
Yeah. What influenced that direction? We were just, as a company, trying to kind of do some like self discovery and figure out why we work so hard every day and what do we want out of life. And that started as like a long sentence, and it just kept getting distilled into not boring. And that's what we want to appear in everything that we do, the projects that we do, starting with the neighborhoods that we look at for a fabric project. So, as I mentioned, like very walkable, amenity rich, but still with like local culture and personality and a
Yeah.
little bit of grit to it. Um, so that's the neighborhood perspective. And then in terms of like the building, you have an opportunity for amazing amenities. And in our perspective, those shouldn't just be something that's like checked off and then you get occupancy. Like that's an extension of someone's home. And especially if you are renting a small unit, like that is a space that really needs to be functional and comfortable and a place that you would actually want to invite your friends over for a glass of wine or get a workout in or get some work done during the day.
Yeah.
So I think we really lean into our like amenities and common areas and places that are sometimes neglected or forgotten.
Yeah.
And then lastly, like the overall design as well. So kind of leaning into that hospitality focused design.
Okay. Yeah, the amenity is so key. I find the same a lot of time, people opening restaurants. It's so easy to just fall into the status quo. We had a project where the way the logo worked in Station Park was there was a nice clean kind of oval like O, and in the center of the master plan community, they actually pushed for a skating rink that could be flooded in the winter surrounding the Christmas tree. But then the way it was designed is it was, a flat walking space in the summer, and like little things like that are great
Yeah,
ways to activate the community, bring shoppers into the retail at ground level, etc. And just
totally.
pushing the boundaries a little bit
Yeah.
can take you
And it
farther.
doesn't necessarily mean like more expense or more cost. It just requires like some thought early enough that it can be designed in.
Yes, I love it. Okay, now Assembly was a project that garnered some significant recognition, including 2 Georgie Awards. What was innovative about your approach in that project, and how do you plan to replicate that success in future projects?
Assembly was a fun one for us. It's a very unique project. So it's located in a neighborhood in East Vancouver here that's historic. It's very industrial. It's very creative, like strong artist community there. And then Assembly, the development itself, it brings together all sorts of uses. So you have on the ground level, you have retail and restaurant and industrial and office space. And then on the residential side, you have market residential and also a below housing component.
Okay.
So it was bringing kind of the whole community into one development. And that's something that we were excited about, but we also wanted to make sure it was very collaborative, very cohesive. And that's kind of what set the tone for the project. So the tagline for the project, or the ethos, I guess you could say, was Aristotle's "the whole is greater than the sum of its parts,"
Mm,
and that just kind of
amazing.
speaks to how the community is stronger when we all work together.
I love that.
So everything was kind of geared around that for the marketing campaign, for marketing collateral and assets and digital marketing. We did a bunch of features on neighborhood businesses that kind of like help shape that Strathcona community. So you had
Yeah.
like the local brewery and the independent cafe and even some of the artists and the leather makers and all these creative people, and we did a spotlight on them. And we actually didn't outwardly promote the project so much. We were outwardly promoting the community.
Mhm.
And then with that, Assembly was just kind of like a subtle, hey, just so you know,
By the way,
we, yeah, by the way,
you can live here.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think like the sales gallery for assembly was a very like innovative experience as well. So we toured a few retail spaces. They just weren't feeling right, and then eventually we decided to convert the industrial warehouse that was existing on the property into a big sales gallery. So what we did
Okay.
is we like painted the whole exterior black. We put some metal on that replicated the material of the building. We installed like a massive oversized metal barn door and had a blade sign with just the monogram and the name of the project, and that was it. Like there was no screaming sales center signage or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was very like inconspicuous, and if you know, you know. And I think that helped to drive people in. It helped
Hmm.
to create a bit of buzz. And then when you walked into this presentation center, it was a big open gallery, kind of like an artist gallery. So you walk in from this like stark black exterior into this bright, fresh, really clean and white open space.
Cool.
And it was massive. So it was like a lot of space for us to work with. And, you know, you think of like a typical presentation center, you have closing rooms and stuff. And here it was all open. So we had to consider the flow a lot and the sound transfer.
Hmm.
We actually deconstructed the display home into different vignettes so that people
Okay.
could move through and really like experience the textures and the appliances and all of that. And then yeah, we had space for like two very large inviting lounges, and in the middle, as I mentioned, it was a very big space. We had a lot of plinths that focused on the neighborhood and those spotlights that were done. So there was merch and beer from the local breweries and a bit of on their story. And there was some of the artist work and the leather work. And it really kind of helped paint the picture of the neighborhood
Yeah.
and just made like a very cool space to
That's
hang out.
great.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys killed it because that's the kind of stuff that gets us excited. And the things, like you said, that you don't need to go completely over the top. We had a project with a similar, I think it was an old Go Tire station, and it happened to be in a downtown area where there's always a festival. And they just turned
Mhm.
it into extra seating and food truck space for the festival so everybody could enjoy it better. And
Yeah.
those are really simple ways. So I love that, the way you guys think. Now, was there also an artist collaboration on that project?
Yeah, for sure. So we worked with Ola Volo. She's a Canadian artist, and she went to school here in Vancouver at Emily Carr.
Okay.
And we engaged her very early on in the process. And it wasn't a mandatory art piece. You know, a lot of developments
Yeah.
require a mandatory public art component. But in this case, it was just the developers of the project thinking that an art piece would really enhance the development and would like be a very nice tribute to the creative community of Strathcona and serve as an amenity to not only the residents and the businesses and their visitors, but the greater community as well. So Ola's art is her mural work and assembly is called The Spirit of Assembly, and it covers about 4,000 square feet of
Wow.
space, and it covers the ceiling of the internal muse that kind of weaves throughout the commercial space of the project. And yeah, it was just such an amazing experience working with Ola, and we always try and incorporate as much art as possible in our projects.
I love that. It's weird. It's like talking to a mirror because we always try and include local artists. A lot of our staff have side artist hustles going, and so yeah, the art component and artist component is such a great way to bring the brand to life beyond just your standard branding.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. So you've obviously been involved in some impactful projects. What is something you're excited about that's coming up?
Yeah. Um, so we have a few purpose-built rental projects in the pipeline,
Okay.
and we're kind of working on the early envisioning process of the design and the amenity programming. So working through those details is always exciting to me. You know, I like interior design, and also it like really sets the tone for the project going forward and kind of gives us the opportunity to lean into that like not boring design that we love so much. And with that, that can be seen in the common areas, so like wayfinding and unique lighting and art and and then in the amenities as well, like I mentioned. So
Yep.
that's fun. And then we also have a purpose-built rental project called Left Field that's going to be completing in the next coming weeks.
Oh, wow.
So being able to like see those things in real life and see the art on the walls and the like cool door numbers installed, like that's very exciting. And then to see residents be able to actually call the units home
Yep.
as well.
It's amazing.
So yeah, looking forward to that.
So you're busy. Exciting times.
We're busy. Yeah.
Well, that transitions perfectly into the next set of questions around our recent Pre-Con Recon report, which is about the shift to secondary markets. And so when I say secondary markets, I don't only mean geographically secondary markets, but also product type. There's definitely a resurgence in low-rise stacked towns, purpose-built rentals, especially. You answered the question that Fabric is pursuing those opportunities. And is that a pattern that you're seeing in your market, other developers pursuing that?
For sure. Yeah. And I forgot to mention, we do have a stacked townhome project completing at the end of the year too. So yeah, we are like seeing those opportunities and leaning into them. And the trend of going towards purpose-built rental in Vancouver has been very strong. There's a lot of product that's underway and a lot of projects that are completing in the near future.
Okay. Do you see that as a trend that's here to stay for a long time, or do you think it's temporary? What are your thoughts?
I think so. I think it'll be here to stay for a while. And then, as people start to like really focus on purpose-built rental, then there might be a need for a bit more strata to come in because it's mostly rental product. So I think like the pendulum has swung and it will start to balance out again in the future.
And now, current market conditions are interesting to say the least. How is product amenity, location selection, branding, what from Fabric's perspective has adjusted the most in how you approach doing business in this market?
Yeah, I think having a slower market reinforces how important branding is. You can kind of compete with your competing projects on location and amenities and that sort of thing. But branding hasn't really been like leaned into, especially when it comes to rental. So that's something that we're aware of and we're like very passionate about, and we're trying to build a strong brand, especially for our rental product. And I think that'll help differentiate us from other projects down the road. There's a lot of research out there that shows that like having a strong brand that people can relate to really does help. Like, is it more important than price? No, but if you're competing with everyone else on those other things, then having that strong brand can be what kind of like sets you apart.
I also I think there's an interesting correlation that the developers that care enough about the brand and the vision for the project also happen to be the developers that have the customer experience and care in the project, which results in better customer reviews, or at least a reduced number of negative reviews. People love to complain in our world and society, but I think it helps with that aspect, which is really important on the purpose-built rental side.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think then is, or maybe not think, you have a lot of projects in motion. What is the biggest challenge or opportunity you're facing right now?
The biggest challenge, I think, is just urgency. I think a lot of people, there's been so much going on like a macro level, that a lot of people are just on the sidelines, and you can have a great product and have a strong brand and good pricing, but the reality is a lot of people are just sitting back and kind of waiting. Like there's been elections and interest rate changes and that sort of thing. So people are realizing that they can sit back and kind of wait and see how the dust settles. So it's just hoping that that interest stays there, and when people are ready, they'll be ready to make their moves.
Yeah, totally. I think there's the same kind of timid approach like during the pandemic, where people just it's the unknown. I don't think it's actually as bad as it all says it is. Just everybody's being careful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, brand and marketing. So, you touched on this at Assembly. The sales experience center was quite beautiful and interactive. How do you track the ROI on an investment like that? How do you say that that was successful and worth it versus just going digital on private appointments?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because often you can't measure like an experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people either like feel positively about something or negatively about something, and sometimes they don't even know why that is. Um, so that's something that we're aware of, and in terms of like a presentation center space, we try and appeal to people's emotions and people's senses. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
just rely on what people see when they first walk in, but how do they feel? What do they hear? Is it a soft playlist, or is it like neighborhood sounds that kind of reinforce the fact that there's a playground across the street and, like birds chirping, that sort of thing?
Yep.
So I think like really honing in on all of those senses, the experience, making it immersive, that people can get behind and feel like this is where I want to be. And yeah, sometimes that can't be measured, but I think ultimately it will lead to success.
I am biased, but I agree. I think it gives people a real tangible taste of what's to come because a lot of the time, you don't get the opportunity to feel and see and experience the product you're investing in or,
Mm-hmm.
in all cases going to live in. A little bit different on the rental side. So is there a marketing approach you've taken that was risky or non-traditional that paid off, or one that didn't, that you learned from, that maybe others could learn from an attempt that didn't turn out?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, as you know, we always try and do things a little bit different and not boring. So, one thing that comes to mind is recently for our Stack Townhome project, which is also in East Vancouver, called The Cut. We had to do new renderings for the second phase, and with that, we were like, we don't want these to be boring old renderings that you see all the time. So we actually have um, a guy walking a pig in front of the project instead of walking a dog. And it was just kind of like a fun, playful thing to do and a nod to the creativity and the eccentric neighborhood of East Vancouver. And we did that, and it kind of went unnoticed for a while. And then finally, someone posted it on Reddit, this pig, and it started creating a bit of buzz. And then the debate starts happening, and people are saying it's like an AI blunder, or some people are commenting that developers are so out of touch because they think people walk pigs. And then people chime in who have pigs that love them, and it was
Oh
just like so
no.
so fun to see kind of like the energy and the engagement. And at the end of the day, it was just like the smallest thing we could do that I think helped bring like a smile to people's faces and do something a little bit refreshing and different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that we did recently. We were inspired by that, and we hid an armadillo in one of our other renderings that is yet to be discovered. So
Okay.
maybe actually after people listen to this, our armadillo will get his time in the in the spotlight.
I love it.
Yeah.
You also talk about unmet needs. And so people are looking for more than just a condo.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about hitting people on the emotional level, lifestyle gaps. What do you think are some of the key elements that other developers are overlooking as it relates to that?
Yeah, and I think our like not boring philosophy kind of really lends to this because there are so many moments in our day to day that just aren't inspiring and aren't like vibrant experiences. So a lot of that comes into like the design of your common area. If you bump into a neighbor, is it like a nice place to stand and chat, or
Mm,
grab a seat and kind of get to know one another? Um, in Vancouver, especially, like you can live for years 2 doors down from someone and never meet them, never have a conversation. So that's something that we're mindful of and something that we're trying to change, especially in the rental market.
I like that. And
Yeah.
then, you've talked a lot about very local, hyper local. In fact, each market, as you know, is
Mhm.
nuanced in the personality and the people and the character. How do you brand and launch and market a building that's catered to that nuanced neighborhood, but then expand that marketing broadly?
Yeah. Yeah, so to date, we've been focusing in East Vancouver, and not because that's the only place we will do projects. We're definitely looking at different markets, but so far it's close to home. We're Vancouver-based, and then it checks all the boxes in terms of being like very walkable and
Mm.
having tons of amenities, restaurants, cafes, schools, um, community centers, and having access to transit and just like a really cool personality to it. So that's kind of why we've been drawn to East Van so far.
Okay.
But there's tons of pockets and other communities that have those traits as well. And we're starting to look at those projects or those neighborhoods, sorry, and we will continue to expand and kind of start to build fabric outside of East Van. And yeah, we're excited for our next neighborhood.
That's amazing. Now, as we talk about reaching people, there's lots of channels that we can
Mm-hmm.
reach people nowadays: direct mail, email, TikTok, Meta, LinkedIn, radio, the list goes on. Where are you finding the most success in generating purchasers, leasers in today's market? And how's that shifted from, the last 2, 3 years?
Definitely digital. We do everything digital these days. So social media, we use Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn a lot. We actually don't have a TikTok account, but that's only purely because of our bandwidth and being able to manage another channel. But I imagine in the near future, we will be leaning into TikTok as well. Um, yeah, so I would say like digital for everything. And then um, events as well. We do a lot of cool kind of community events that help get our brand acknowledged, and sometimes they're not directly related to a project, but we believe that doing a community event that kind of brings people together and like fosters connectivity and stuff, um, that will have like a residual effect on our brand.
Yep.
um, yeah, like one cool community event that we did was when we launched the second phase of the cut.
Okay.
Um, so that was around Halloween time, and we had a house that was vacant on the site, and we kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool to throw like an epic Halloween haunted house here? So it took a lot of time and effort, and it was costly, but we turned it into like this amazing haunted house experience and invited all the neighbors down to come check it out. And we had hundreds of people through, thousands of pumpkins were given away,
Wow.
and it just built the brand
Yeah.
and like shine a positive light on the cut. And then I'm sure from like a construction standpoint as well, we got less complaints from the neighbors in terms of noise and dust and
Mm.
stuff, because that event showed that we like truly do care about the community and that we are trying to make a difference and do something positive here.
Yeah.
So events sometimes are one of those things that you can't necessarily see the metrics, but you have to just trust that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's brain building, and the
Mm-hmm.
care I think is so important. And it can be little things. We had a developer that was on a riverside property, and there's a walking path, and for the launch event and for the neighborhood, we passed out little custom illustrated floral find hunt treasure hunt booklet, so you could go with your family and go and find all the unique species of flowers or flora, which gets you out walking. And so that's a little way to
Cool.
what you guys are pointing at, show the community like you care where you're building, like you want
Yeah.
people to live here. And yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Cool. Now, you've worked agency side, you've worked developer side. Where do you see internal teams excelling? When do you reach out to, or what's the appropriate time that you see the value of bringing agency support in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to have both perspectives for sure. I think like the pros of having an internal team is that it's very cohesive. Like everyone understands the objectives and the brand guidelines and like what you are trying to achieve. Everyone's singing from the same song. So I think that's one of the benefits of having it internally. But that said, like you can't always add to your staff, and having an external group to lean on is like a huge benefit sometimes, and something that we often do because we are like a very lean machine here at Fabric. And being able to lean on a third party marketing group for some fresh ideas and some fresh energy and insight and manpower, that's a major benefit and something that we lean on.
And I'm sure it's helpful having been on that side. It makes you better at managing and sourcing those relationships.
Yeah, yeah, you just
The
have to
agency
bring the
probably
third party.
appreciates it too, because sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like a broken record sometimes, like always bringing them back to the brand guidelines and kind of what Fabric is about. But you know,
Yeah.
if you're not in the office, kind of feeling that every day, it's easy. It's easy to not necessarily have 100% alignment.
Okay, now let's look future forward. AI, data, automation, lots changing in the world, in the marketing and brand side. What piece of technology or advancement are you excited at integrating into your marketing stack, or maybe on getting customer insights and data to better serve your next project and your next homeowner?
Yeah, I think AI is going to be an amazing tool for us to really lean into. Renderings and animations and graphic design, like all of those things that we can kind of use AI to help produce assets that will give people a better like visual understanding of space that doesn't exist yet. That is critical.
Yeah.
And then that frees up our time to focus on the bigger picture, overarching strategy of things. So I'm excited about the way AI is going, and yeah, I can't wait until it's like fully adopted in the industry.
Even simple things like you got a beautiful skyline shot, there's certain budget constraints we're always working within. It's
Mm.
great to be able to dump it into AI and have it animate the sky. And now you've got some movement in your rendering without the extra, couple grand to animate a sky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like scary how easy it is for AI to do these things, but a perk as well.
Yeah. Okay, Theresa, I've got one last question for you. If you had to restart your career right now in the current market condition, what is either the mindset or the skill set that would be important to have to succeed?
Um, I would say like one thing I wish I had done more of early on is network.
Okay.
I was a bit of a workhorse and kind of like stuck behind my desk and just worked away, and I don't think that necessarily is a strength, like getting out there and talking to people. That's how you have the opportunity to learn. Everyone you speak to, you can learn something from. And like if you think back to the very start when I talked about how I got into the industry, that was through a conversation with a friend and just expressing like what I was looking for. And that's how it came to be. So I think networking is so important. I think when you like first enter the industry, you kind of feel like you need to like work so hard, which you do, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean like being chained to your desk.
Yeah, you can't underestimate anyone. Our like when we started 11 years ago, my wife and I, we're 21 people now. The I think one of our first clients we met at a small business networking event, and it was a bookkeeper, and she introduced us to like our first 10 clients before we niched into the real estate industry. And so yeah,
Yeah,
you never know who you're talking to that will help give you that tip, that advice, that next career opportunity. So I love that.
totally.
Well, Theresa, thanks for joining me. If people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, where can we send them?
Mm-hmm. So they can find me on LinkedIn, Theresa Dillon, and you can find more about fabric on Instagram. So our Instagram handle is Life at Fabric, or our website, fabricliving.ca. And thanks
Amazing.
so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me on the Pre-Con Recon podcast, brought to you by Him and Her.